The story of Whiskin craft from grain to the glass. Malt whiskey is made by a process called pot still distillation, which involves malting, fermenting, distillation and maturation. The first step is to malt the barley. Once the barley is malted, it is ground in a mill and the crushed grain is mixed with hot water to create a liquid called wort, which is fermented using yeast to create alcohol. The alcohol is distilled in copper pot stills to collect pure spirit. At Whiskin Craft we distill our spirit in small batches, giving extra attention to temperature and other ambient conditions to ensure only the best spirit is used in our whiskey. The pure spirit is poured into oak casks and matured. As the spirit matures in casks, it develops in flavor and acquires its golden color. Grain whiskey on the other hand is made using a continuous technique called column distillation. Grain whiskey is made from cereals like rice and barley mash. We at Whiskin Craft only use triple distilled grain spirit. Resulting whiskey is lighter and mellower than malt whiskey. Malt and grain whiskies complement each other when combined. Malt whiskey has a fiery taste, considered too potent for most tastes. Grain whiskey has a gentler flavor, and blending malt and grain whiskies together produces a smoother, flavorsome whiskey. Blending requires a considerable amount of skill, and is considered an art that requires years to acquire. We at Whiskin Craft studied whiskies from different sources at Scotland and carefully selected them to complement and enhance the flavor of the other whiskies. We only use natural flavors imported from France like honey, dry fruits and chocolates to boost the flavor of our whiskey. The art of the blender is to create a whiskey that is recognizable in character and never varies in standard. Quality and consistency is the key. We at Whiskin Craft have highly experienced tasters who can appreciate the individual components of each whiskey that go into the mix for getting consistency in our final product. From each batch of our handcraft whiskey, we create a reference standard. For each new batch to be sold as Whiskin Craft requires our whiskey tasters to blind taste the new batch with the reference standard and identify the odd man out. If the whiskey tasters consistently identify the new blend as different, the master blender has to go back and adjust the relative contents of the new batch, and the entire blind tasting session is repeated. Hence, each batch of Whiskin Craft is handcrafted by our French master blender to create the same characteristic taste you can enjoy in each bottle. Cheers to Whiskin Craft. Haven't you tried it yet?